Alright, Dogovan stream. This time with a new Dragon Empire ride line finally. And not another anime related ride line it seems. So let's begin. And no cards for the last few days. So, to the ride line itself. Here's the starter, Scarlet Flame Recruit Bakish. Moving on to the grade 1 with AK Power Scarlet Flame Archer Agalido. Its skill is Count Vanguard. If your opponent has one or less rear guards and you would ride from your ride deck the grade 2, that being Scarlet Flame Archer Parnell, you can perform the ride without discarding a card from your hand. If you went first, very likely to happen. If you go second, not as much, but it does have benefits still because of the second skill where auto when rolled upon, if your opponent has 2 or more rear guards, you may call this to rear guard. So basically your opponent will have to think about it. Either they overcommit by calling more stuff, which is still what you want your opponent to do, or your opponent doesn't call anything and you don't lose a card from your hand. I do kind of like this because it makes your opponent think. This deck focuses on retiring your opponent's rear guards, but if they don't do it, it kind of punishes them as well because you get stronger. In which we move on to the grade 2 with AK Power Scarlet Flame Archer Parnell. Its skill is auto when rolled upon by Gandiva, choose one of your vanguards, and until the end of turn, the original cost of the unit's axe skill is reduced by 1 counterblast. And yes, ruling wise, if you have 0 counterblast, you can still use that 1 counterblast skill as it's just reduced costs. Any way to save counterblast is always good. In which we go to Scarlet Flame Martial Dragon Gandiva. Looks pretty cool, I might add. It's a grade 3 with taking power and the skill is Auto Vanguard. When your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, you may choose a card from your drop zone and bind it face down. This will matter for its second skill where Count Vanguard. During your turn, all your front row units get plus 2k power for each face down card in your bind zone. If there's 5 or more, this card gets plus 1 crit. So like I said, focuses on retiring your opponent's rear guards, which is why you do want your opponent to be calling stuff anyway. And if your opponent decides not to call stuff so you can't retire stuff, well, the third skill kind of comes to play and some other support cards, where the third skill is the Axe skill, where Act Vanguard, once per turn, cost counterblast 1, choose up to 5 of your opponent's rear guards with each with different grades, reveal the top 5 cards to your deck, retire all chosen units with the same matching grades as the ones revealed, and then of course shuffle your deck. But if the number of retired cards is 1 or less, draw a card and then choose 1 card from your drop zone and bind it face down. So basically, you choose 5 different grade units, reveal the top 5, and if any one of them is matching grades, you just retire the ones that matches the grade. But if for some reason you have bad luck or your opponent chooses not to really call much, well, you basically just increase your bind zone count, which in turn will increases your power. Gaining a bit of Chrono, Fang Tiger, Blade Master, and Dungaree vibes here, especially because of the Dragon Bow part, but overall it is pretty cool. Retiring your opponent's rear guard is the main focus for the deck, and more retires already makes this stronger, but even if you can't retire, well, you can still get stronger, and even more stronger on top of that. And considering that it already buffs up the whole front row, power doesn't seem to be a problem here. I might actually give this deck a try. And now to some support cards. Our first card is Scarlet Flame Archer Still Guna, which is a grade 3 with taking power and the skills. Auto when placed on rear guard, if your vanguard is Gandiva, cost soul blast 1, bind one of your other rear guards face down, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. If you do not retire, draw a card and then choose a card from your drop zone and bind it face down. Like I said, the theme of this deck is to retire your opponent's rear guards, but if you can't retire your opponent's rear guards, you're just basically getting more stronger as it goes. If I'm going to be very honest, this does seem to be a little overcosted because you're soul blasting 1 while minusing one of your own rear guards just to try to kill one of your opponents. And if you can't kill one of your opponents, at least you can refund that rear guard, but additional bind. It's not too bad because at least that you can still get yourself stronger. But considering that Gandiva can already get stronger just by retiring your opponent's rear guards and then giving you more binds from that, you can probably just use a generic card that can retire your opponent's rear guard. You do have a good amount in Dragon Empire. Finally, drag Ritter Alpha Curl. Grade 2 taking power and skills. Auto rear guard. When your Gandiva Vanguard attacks a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, costs bind this card face down, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 grade 3 or lower unit card from among them and call it to rear guard, and of course shuffle your deck. It has to say grade 3 or greater because now Gufagria exists as a grade 10 and don't forget Esperidia, so it just kinda has to say that. But overall it's pretty good. First off, it doesn't really cost you counterblast or soul blast. It just binds itself face down, which will be more power for Gandiva. The next thing is that it calls another unit on top of it in mid-battle, giving you additional attack. And considering that Gandiva already can power up the front row with its own skill, yeah, that is actually pretty powerful right there. And in a way, because of this card as well, I am probably going to give the deck a try, even though that will make it my 4th Dragon Empire deck, which I probably don't really want, but then again, I'm going to have a 4th Dark State deck, that being Algemester. So that's it for the new Gandiva ride line. What do you guys think of it? I do kind of like the design and the playstyle a bit. I am willing to give the deck a try. Reminds me a lot of Chrono Fang in playstyle a bit. There's also Kagero because Kagero aesthetic, and Dungri because Dragon with Bolt. I was almost afraid that this was going to be basically like Eugene 2.0, but luckily not really. It has its own unique twist to it, which I like. But other than that, that's it for this, and see you all next time.